Hello and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for June 4th, 2011. Well, spring is on the way out and summer's on the way in a few weeks. And, during this time that I've been recuperating from this, as it turns out, rhinitis or whatever that I actually do have, sinus infection, whatever it is, complicated issue, I've been just noticing some of the CDs that I've had accumulating in some of the, little plastic crates that I've been accumulating in my room for CD cases. And I've been thinking a lot about the kind of music collector that I am. And, a lot of people collect music just because it's the thing to do or a hobby. But I actually listen to all the music that I buy. Not that, I always do it exactly, all the time, but eventually I do get a chance. And I've been thinking about some of the criterions by which I listen to music, some of the ways I tend to do it. And I do have sort of a method to it. And my first method is this. These three albums right here. This is Edgar Winter's 1970 debut, Entrance. This is the Jan Hammer Group's 1977 album, Melodies. And this is Miles Davis's On the Corner album. All of these recordings have one thing in common. All of them feature music that has no label of genre to it. It stretches across many different styles of music. In some cases, blues and jazz, and other cases, jazz and R&B, and in other cases, all of those things mixed with different varieties of world music and funk grooves, and some atonal avant-garde qualities. The music on these albums have always fascinated me, and I came to them through different means, which I will discuss now. Another way that I actually discover music is by friends. Now, a friend of mine named Henrique recommended this album to me. It's a double album by R. Kelly, an artist that I previously ignored and really had some opinions about that may not have been that great. It's an album called Happy People, You Save Me. It's an excellent retro, sophista-funk kind of release, as it were, and it's a really good album, and I'm glad my friend Henrique recommended it, so I hope he sees this. Another thing I love to do is to be able to find music from an unexplored variety of another kind, like this. This man is called Bernard Wright. Now, if you know about Miles Davis, he played on his 2-2 album, and he's part of the Jamaica Queens jazz, funk, R&B scene, Tom Brown, and people like that, Lenny White, Weldon Irvin. And he made this album when he was 16 years old, and it was released when he was 18 in 1981. And it's basically a funk album, a jazz funk album, but it explores a lot of interesting new melodic and musical directions in that genre, and it's been sampled a lot by hip-hoppers. And it's been hard to get for a while, but I'm really glad I have this album. Another way in which I discover music on CD is by this means. This particular album, right here, Heat Waves Central Heating, was one that I had basically heard as part of a soundtrack to my childhood. Not to get too time life about it, but it was something that I listened to when I was younger, and I can, sing almost every song on this note for note, now that I'm a great singer, backwards and forwards. Put the word out, send out the sunshine, the star of a story, my favorite song on it, the groove line, you name it. This album has lived with me and has become part of how I perceive music in general. And this, I've heard this guy, Michael, all of my life, but this particular album has a similar effect on me, even though I didn't hear it until I was 14. And this is the remastered CD version, but, the influence of my youth and the influence of life in general was something that brought me to that album. Another thing is a favorite artist and rarity. Now, Tina Marie may be dead, but this album is a wonderful record of hers from 1980 called Lady T. And it's hard to find now, it's out of print, and I was lucky enough to get a reasonable price on the internet for it, so that is a really exciting thing for me to have to deal with. Sometimes, though, I just come upon favorite artists purely by happy accident or serendipity. And that's what happened with this guy, Gino Vannelli. I only know him for 2 songs, and I had heard from some friends about this album and read some internet things, so I decided to take a go for it. And even though people qualify him as being kind of easy listening pop jazz or something, this album could have easily been Stevie Wonder's 1977 release. the synthesized textures, the melodic sounds, the vocals. Highly recommended album, especially if you love Stevie Wonder. And it was something I kind of investigated on my own, and that's something that influences me too. And finally, speaking of Stevie Wonder, another way in which I buy albums, and this is common, I will tend to buy a album that was made first, such as Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions album from 1973, and its follow-up, Fulfilling Mrs. 4'th's Finale in 1974. The reason I do this is because that way, you know, if I'm doing an Amazon.com review of a CD, or if I'm listening to them in general, I get a sense of progression from one album to the other, you know, how the artist progressed musically and lyrically and so forth. So that's basically it. Those are the criterions by which I judge music and analyze it. Now, I know a lot of you out there actually are influenced a lot by what you hear on the radio and by what friends tell you to like. And I admit, you know, sometimes I was and sometimes I am influenced by those particular things too. But, you know, a friend can recommend something to you, like I was saying about this particular album right here by R. Kelly. But the important thing is for you to sample the music somewhere before you buy it, and make sure you feel it in your head and in your heart first, because that way you'll have a better idea of what it really means to you. This is Andre's YouTube vlog for June 4th, 2011, signing out.